Thing on the agenda, we have a stack of papers in the back, we don't do.
No, just the agenda. There actually is. I put some, but just the agenda. Yeah.
I don't have a copy here with me, but I think the first thing is public comment, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Margaret, let's see, Margaret, does anybody know Margaret? Margaret Arrowwood?
Marty Arrowwood, 114 Shrimp Street. The agenda states today's meeting is to consider qualifications of prospective employees. So let's compare them to the current interim town manager, who I feel is the most qualified for this position. Do these candidates have years of experience with coastal management and CAMA in North Carolina? Do they have long-standing and respected relationships with local and state officials? Do they have a proven record of acquiring millions of dollars in grants for various projects that keep the costs low for us taxpayers? Do they understand the challenges of being part of the fastest growing county in America? Do they have experience with working and managing a small workforce that has proven their loyalty to this beach? And I would go on, but my point is, a town manager is like a coach. If you're happy with the town progress, you hire from within. Remember, our audit has been clean, our projects are on schedule, and we just won another award. If you are not happy and want radical or total change, you hire an outsider. Finally, Christy has already been involved with future projects such as Block Q, future water tower and fire department needs, stormwater issues, etc. How long do we fall behind in planning and procurement while a new manager has to learn and become familiar with these issues? That is why I stand before you to say if Holden Beach is to continue to progressively meet the needs of the future, we should hire Christy Ferguson, who has the most experience, dedication, and loyalty to our town. Having gone out and done a search and spent the money to do a search doesn't have to be a negative. It can be proof that what we have here is best. As a disclaimer, yes, Christy is a friend of mine who I have come to know and respect through my volunteer work on the island. I do not make this statement as a friend. I make them, these statements as a friend. I make them as a resident of Holden Beach for over 35 years, who has seen more town managers and assistant managers in their work than anybody here except Mr. Holden.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. McInturf?
Good evening. My name is Rick McInturf, 122 Frigate. I have a fair amount of experience with search organizations and headhunter types of groups. While they certainly have a role to play in the hiring process for critical positions such as a town manager, some amount of caution might also be necessary. I have just a couple of comments on the process. As you review the credentials of the finalists being presented to you and ultimately interview some of them, you are looking for that one bright, shining star that stands heads and shoulders above all of the other candidates. You want the one person that has the skills and experience to manage our unique beach town. I certainly hope that individual is in the group. If they are not, you have options. I have seen searches have time limits expanded to allow for additional individuals to submit paperwork. I've seen searches halted and then started again using either another firm or the services of a state organization that would assist in developing a local ad for the position. I've also seen searches halted and an offer for employment extended to someone already working in the organization who is qualified to do the job. The point is that this is a long and complicated process, and it does not need to be hurried. If the right candidate does not emerge in the first round, do not be pushed into making a decision just to get someone on board. Step back and look at all the options. Our town seems to be operating efficiently under the leadership of our interim town manager, and I believe could continue operating in this manner for as long as necessary. I'm sure there's some kind of timeline that the state establishes to have a town manager put in place, but all of that allowable time needs to be used if necessary. Thank you, and I wish you luck in making this important decision for our town.
Thank you, sir. Regina Martin.
Regina Martin, 1032 Ocean Boulevard West, Holden Beach. I know you guys have heard this from the other two people, and I'm here basically just to add to the fact that I was never in favor of hiring a firm to start with, and I stood up here and told you all that, if I couldn't see the town wasting the money. You have brought forth, I believe, 5 candidates. Don't know how many of them have any coastal experience. But I believe we would be much better served to hire from within and let the person who has been running this town since David's departure continue to run this town, that she has done very well at doing. She has brought us innumerable grants and accolades over the time period that she has been here, serving both as interim town manager and assistant town manager. I'm not exactly sure why some members of the board seem to have issues of hiring from within. Unless you're just looking to make super radical changes that you can only make once you're rid of all the old school people. But these are the people that have made our town what it is. It's the reason people come here. It's the reason people come back year after year, because Holden Beach is a family beach. It has always been a family beach, and you can build as many big old houses as you want to. But there is still going to be that family feeling here. And I don't care how long the 3 of you all stay. Once you're gone, the family feeling will come back. Thank you.
Mr. Pearson.
My name is Mike Pearson, 116A Ferry Road. I didn't write a speech. I'm not much of a public speaker, but I just have a couple things that I would like to say, and I'm speaking from the heart. Okay, I'm not a smart guy. A lot of people would say I'm just a redneck from a mill village of 600 people in western North Carolina, but I did get an education. I did get a degree in political science. And I did take a lot of public government classes. And I had this professor one time. His name was Dr. Borgothi. And now how in the world you get an Egyptian to teach us about American government, I don't know, but he was the professor. And he was a good one. And he walks in one day and he says, close your textbook. He said, what's going to be on this? None of this is going to be on the final exam. He said, what we're going to talk about today is in none of the textbooks. So he says, okay, what I do is I teach theory and I teach best practices. And he says, and I teach some public law. He said, but that don't always work. He said, sometimes there's 2 things that you have to do that's not in that textbook. He said, you got to use your gut instinct and common knowledge. And he said, I don't care what, and going forward in your future, I don't care what book or whatever you use as a guide, those 2 things will not be in there. So I'm here because I think right there should be our next town manager. I've known Christy for 9 years, probably a lot longer than some of you have. I started off with her on the Beach and Inlet Board for 3 years. She and Alan and the staff, we went to the byways meetings, core meetings, Brunswick meetings. And I was the first meeting, I'll never forget it. I thought I'd hit the big time because I'm sitting beside the mayor and Mike McIntyre. And he leans over to me and he says, now you listen. He said, there's some good stuff in this stuff coming out of these meetings. And so I started writing, I take my little note and I look over there. Christian, she must have been doing shorthand. Well, I've never seen anybody write so fast. So when we look at this town, and when I think about all of the grants and the grant money that's come into this town, and she has, not only does everybody like Christian, but she has earned it. She has earned it. She has the respect of people. And let me tell you something, you don't get respect until you do your job and you do a damn good job at it. I hired a manager one time. I had 8 salespeople. I hired a manager, a general manager from outside. I went on vacation. I came back, I had 3 salespeople left. And they were the 3 that I really didn't care if they stayed or left. Okay? You know, I had out of a group of employees of 38 employees, when we closed the store, we had 21 of them had been there for 20 years or longer. Okay, that's fine.
Thanks, sir. And did I miss anybody that thought they'd signed up? Not, then that will conclude our public comment period. Next item on the agenda is possible closed session. Does anybody want to address that?
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion. We go into closed session.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, you want to read that?
Closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A6 to consider the qualifications of prospective employees in North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A3, consult with the attorney.
Motion on the table, and discussion. Any discussion? If not, you ready to vote?